Hi, this is Emily Leiphart of Art from the Heart, and in this video I'm sharing a Paper Smooches card as part of Amy Ceruta's Holiday Coffee Lovers blog hop. Paper Smooches is just one of 27 incredibly generous sponsors of this blog hop, so you'll definitely want to play along and comment for your chance to win. I start by cutting the base for a card measuring 4 inches by 5.5 inches. It will be a vertical card that opens from the bottom. I'll be using two different squares from the stitched frames dies to create a background for the focal point, so I'm going to use my design ruler, the grid mat, and a pencil to mark where I want the squares to meet. I purposely cut the card a little narrower than a standard A2 card so that the corner of these squares would go slightly off the edge. I'm also not putting the inner corners right at the intersection of my pencil lines. You can see the two different sizes of squares when I place them next to each other. I put my ruler up against the edges to make sure they're lined up, hold them in place with washi tape, and run it through my Big Shot. Now you can see how the background will appear once I've removed the dies. It's subtle yet intricate and provides that extra little detail. I flip the two squares around and finish off the rest of the pattern. Next, I remove the pencil lines with a Staedtler eraser. I've been using these my entire life and I just love them. There's no better eraser. I move on to stamping the images that will comprise of my focal point. This is the boy elf from Enchanted Elves being stamped onto its coordinating die cut from Elf Icons. In the original image, he's holding a gift, but I'm going to cover that up with the Takeout Coffee Cup from Warm Hearts. I'm stamping the coffee cup onto its coordinating die cut from Warm Hearts Icons, which was just released this month. This has always been one of my favorite stamp sets, and I'm absolutely delighted that there are now dies for all these images. After both images are stamped, I go ahead and color them with Copic markers. As I've stated before, I often start with the skin color. Next, I shade the elf's hair with warm browns. I discovered that the coffee cup completely hides the present in the elf's hand by accident while I was flipping through my stamp sets. Sometimes I'll just go through my entire stash to get ideas. I shuffle them around like a deck of cards. That way I might see two images together that I normally wouldn't even think of combining. In typical elf fashion, I give this one a green outfit. I end up leaving too much of a highlight with the lightest color, so I go back in and add more of the medium shade to darken his outfit. Next, I color in his shoes to coordinate with his hair. Then I add red to the fringe on his outfit, as well as the heart on the coffee cup. This follows the design rule of thirds. I did get a bit of red outside the lines into his hair, so I just used the colorless blender to remove that bit of red and recolor the white space with brown. I color the coffee cup itself with really light warm grays, and I'm going to use those warm grays on the pom-pom as well as the striped tights. I go back and add warm brown on the coffee cup to coordinate with the elf's hair and shoes. Now that all the coloring is done, I can start to assemble everything. The white edges on the coffee cup interfere too much with the elf's hands and face, so I'm going to trim off the white edges from the bottom and top of the cup. That looks much better, and while I have the scissors out, I'm going to round off the corners so they look more natural, like they were die cut that way. After placing the elf on the card base, I try out several sentiments before settling on You're My Favorite from the Enchanted Elves stamp set. Any one of the ones I shared would have looked great, but I thought You're My Favorite worked in favor of the recipient and also the fact that coffee is the elf's favorite beverage. I used VersaFine Onyx Black Pigment ink to stamp the sentiment, which I nestled right into the base of that bottom stitched square. Next, I wanted to create some steam rising from the cup. Since this cup is small, I knew that the flourish dies would be much too big. I went through my Paper Smooches dies and discovered that the swirls on the ends of this hello die were fine enough to coordinate with the coffee cup. I die cut it from vellum so it would still be noticeable but not obstruct the elf's face. After testing it with the cup, I snip off the ends and adhere the pieces behind the cup. I moved those flourishes several times before getting them in the right spot. I didn't want them right in front of the elf's face, but rather off to the side. Since this is a takeout cup and the lid is on it, the steam should only be rising from the little hole anyway. It made more sense as I went along, and as you can see, I made several more changes even after I applied foam adhesive to the back. I'm glad I fiddled with it so much because I felt it was perfect in the end. At this point, I grab my Wink of Stella brush pen and add shimmer to the elf's smile and also the vellum steam. It's always difficult to see how pretty it is on video, but it really does look amazing in person. I tried to capture it in the close-up photo on my blog. I'm adding 2 layers of glue dots on the back of the elf so I can adhere him to the card. I didn't want to add a second layer of foam tape since the cup is already popped up, but I did want him to have a tiny bit more dimension than being adhered flat with ribbon tape. Now my card is done. It's clean and simple, but with a lot of visual interest and a bit of dimension. Please refer to the supply links below if you're interested in any of the products I used in this video. You can also visit my blog for stills and more information about my work. Thanks so much for watching.